Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create height maps and landscapes in Axial Drift. So let's get started. First thing to do is to download Terrasculptor 2.0. So you can get it right here. And yeah, you can just like download it from here. And then I'll go ahead and load that. So go ahead and download it and install that. And so we're going to be using Terrasculptor to generate height maps, and it's free, and it's actually Patreon supported. It's very powerful, very cool. Yeah, and I'll show you how it works. So we'll go ahead and create a new project. We want to set it to 766 by 766 because that's actually a natively supported resolution in Unreal Engine. And it will get us as close as we can to the type of maps we want to make. So just go ahead and hit OK there. And so at this point you just get this flat map. And kind of the first place to start is under noise map. So there's a lot of different types of noises you can create, noise algorithms. I'll go through a few of them with you. So one of them is like the Perlin map, and there's a bunch of presets like alien craters, circles. I mean, there's just a bunch, and it just goes to show you like how much stuff you can make with these. Everything's adjustable, all these settings here. So these presets set those actually. Another one is the gradient map. You can create a lot of different things. This is really nice. This plaster map. You know, rigid volcanoes. Also, the simplex map is pretty useful. And so what we'll do is we'll start creating a map that kind of works well in Axial Drift. So actually, give me one sec. So we'll start with a noise map, a Perlin noise map. So this will just give us like our base noise map. And we'll just randomize the seed, and we'll set the continent to just a little bit above this second one. So that's just, so in the game, if the mountains feel too big, rather than adjusting the scale, it's always better to adjust this content size of your height map, and it kind of compresses everything down. So rather than adjusting the scale to try to compress it, just do it here. That way you keep really large maps. 766 by 766 will produce fairly large maps. I don't know, I can't remember the exact size, but they're close to you know, the old game tribes that a lot of people would want to kind of build their maps in the spirit of. So, so yeah, so right about here produces a good size or a good frequency of the mountains, and then we'll set this to 7, 48 here. Choose 7 here. And that's it. And we won't adjust any of those. So we'll just start with that. So that gives us this kind of base map to work with here. So then the next thing we're going to try to do is I'm going to show you how to blend other features into this, like ridges, terraces, dunes, rivers, canyons, that kind of stuff, because as is, it's not bad. But you can make the terrain a lot more, I think, realistic or interesting looking. by blending other features in. And this is just kind of like my own method that I've created. You don't have to follow this method, but I think it's kind of cool and interesting and shows you some of the power of this program. So yeah, so I'm going to load up Photoshop, because what I'm going to do is I don't necessarily want to blend the features into the entire terrain. I'm going to show you how to do blending, but with with alpha masks, so that we can kind of use noise generated in Photoshop or any other program to choose where to actually blend in new features. So we'll create a new file here. We'll make it the same size, so 766 by 766 pixels. So we'll create that. We'll go to Filter, Render, Clouds. And then what we can do is go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels, and we can kind of start playing with these levels. And so what's going to happen is wherever there's white, that's where these new features are going to blend in, and wherever there's not, it's just going to keep this old terrain. And you'll see we can kind of still adjust like how much we want to blend it in. So yeah, so maybe we'll try something like this at first. So this is basically a mask. It's an alpha mask. So we'll go ahead and export that as just a PNG file to our desktop. I have this assets folder I've created for this video. So I'm just going to call this, we're going to do some ridges, add some ridges, or blend some ridges in. So we'll call this ridges alpha. And we'll just save that. Just ridge alpha. Yeah, ridges. All right. So yeah, that's pretty easy to do. And of course, you can adjust this to whatever you want. And then every time you generate clouds, it generates kind of a new random, formation of these. So yeah, you can add like more or less. It's up to you using those level controls. Yeah, and so what we'll do is we'll actually save this. We'll save this project right here, this base that we have. We'll put it on our desktop as well. Let's call it landscape video. So then what we'll do is, to create the ridges, we're going to actually create a whole new project. And we'll make it 766 by 766 as well. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to, so I'll hit yes. So let me make sure that other one's saved. Yeah, okay. Sorry, so we'll create a new project. We're trying to create like a completely separate height map because we want to blend it into that other one. We don't always have to create a separate height map, but in this case, I'm going to. So yeah, so we'll use a noise map. We'll use a gradient noise map this time, and we'll give it the ridged volcanoes, and I'll add some gain to it, so the gain kind of adjusts the height of it, like the intensity, essentially. And maybe like offset it. That's probably about okay. Just leave it right there. Something like that. And of course, we can adjust the content size to like how frequent the ridges are, essentially. But I think this will work right here, something like that. And so we'll just hit OK. There we go. So we have this completely separate height map that has ridges on it. Then we'll go ahead and we'll export this terrain here, and we'll call this ridges. And we'll just make it a PNG as well. And 16-bit grayscale is fine. And so let's open up. We won't save this project because we already have the height map exported. So we'll open back up our Perlin noise map that we want to blend those ridges into. So what we'll do is we'll go to transform here and then go to blend. And then we'll choose external file, and we'll choose the choose a bitmap, or I'm sorry, we'll choose a PNG, and we'll choose the ridges height map that we just created, and we'll tell it to use that alpha blend that we made in Photoshop, that ridges alpha file, and then we'll say use alpha blend file, so that way it doesn't apply ridges to like all over the map. So just a cool way to just kind of mix it up and make it a little bit more organic. And then the key here, the reason we don't see anything is because we have to actually blend them in. So as you can see, you can start to see these ridges forming here. So of course you could blend them, you can see like you know, how much they can blend in. So yeah, that looks okay right there. So see the difference from that to like that. So it really does a nice job of blending in the features. So, and that's just one feature. So that's just giving us some ridges here, as you can see. Like right here, and you can actually blend in a lot of other features as well. So I'll kind of go through. I'm not going to blend all of them in right now because it'll just take too long to generate the. Usually what I do is I generate new alpha masks for every feature, and I generate obviously new height maps for every feature. But we'll go through some of the other ones that you can do. Actually, and then before I do that, I'll actually show you how to do a canyon. Actually, I'll do that example because there's a couple differences for that, a couple little special ways to do that. So I'll actually save this, and then for the canyon, if I wanted to add some like rivers or canyons through this level, I can go to New Project. Make another 766 by 766. And we'll just save this. And this time we'll use a Perlin noise map again, and we'll choose the rivers map. Yep, and that looks probably okay. Maybe we'll add a little bit of gain to it just to make it a little bit more pronounced. And then we'll just hit OK, and we'll get that going. And then what we're going to use is this special feature called the weight map for on altitude. And we'll increase the low here. And see what it's doing is, and then we'll also increase the fall off. And so what it's doing is it's kind of like, see, it's kind of like finding the rivers, right? Which is pretty cool. So we're just kind of isolating out just those areas that we want. Yeah. So the rivers should be black basically, and then they should sink in properly when we bring them in. So we'll go ahead and we have to actually, to save this weight map here, we actually do it right here. So we'll just call this like rivers, and we'll save it as a PNG. There we go. There we go. So we'll actually open back up the original project. There it is, with like our ridges and stuff still. And then what we'll do is we'll actually do another blend. So we'll just go to transform blend, and we'll clear these out. We're not going to use an alpha mask this time, so we're just going to directly blend in the rivers right into this map. And there you go. You can already see it like cutting them out. Of course, we can adjust the amount. See? And so as you can see, we're getting some pretty nice like canyons forming. And so yeah, we'll just hit OK, and boom, there you go. So you can see we've carved out some like pretty nice canyons here. And of course, you can. I'm kind of going quick, and I'm not really paying attention to too much of like the settings, but you know, you can adjust the gain and blends and to get to something that you really like. But as you can see, it's added quite a bit of organic detail to the terrain. I think it looks a lot more realistic. And so what you can do as well, I won't do them now, but you can blend in other things. So for example, you could create a new project and use like simplex, and you could blend some dunes in, for example. They're similar to ridges, to be honest, but yeah, you could blend those in. They have like a little bit more detail here. Of course, use an alpha mask with those as well. You can also do transform Terrace, and so this one you don't need to create a new project, and I don't even think you necessarily need to blend them in. You could actually, they have like a ton of presets, and you can see like what it does is it creates kind of like a stepped, almost like the Grand Canyon. See these like steps here, and you can actually go to modified, so you can turn them on and off, so you can see kind of the difference as you add ridges. So you could do that. We'll just add them, and you could add, let's see, I'm sorry, these are not ridges, these are terraces. You could also do erosion, like hydraulic erosion, and you can just leave the preset, you can leave the the defaults and just hit like preview. It takes a bit, and so it'll erode. See, and so yeah, and what you could do is you could like erode this, save this out as a height map, and then blend it back in with an alpha map if you didn't want this erosion to occur like all over. So we'll just hit OK. We'll let it erode, kind of smooth it out. So it's actually applying hydraulic erosion. So it's simulating like water running over this thing over, you know, many years, and you can see it kind of like smooths out a bunch of the areas of the terrain. So yeah, you can see it's really looking a lot different, but it's, believe it or not, it still has a lot of the same characteristics of the original terrain as well, which is why we start from that base map. And yeah, and that's basically, you can play around more to get an idea. And so what I'll show you is I have my Desert Kingdom map. So I think it's this one right here. I'll show you kind of what it looks like when you blend a bunch of stuff in. So there you go. Like this, I actually spent quite a bit of time on. You can see like ridges and like dunes and, you know, canyons, and you know, I spent quite a bit of time to make sure that everything was kind of tweaked nicely. And yeah, there's even obviously you can see some hydraulic erosion here, but it's like alpha masked, so it's not everywhere, right? It's not as intense as in like the previous thing. So yeah, if you spend quite a bit of time, you can get to something like this, and it works out really well in game. It's nice and fun to ski on as well. Yeah. So what we'll do is I'll just I'm gonna export this as though we had made it in this video, and so I will to export this into a final height map. We'll just go to Export Terrain, and I like to, the final export, I like to do it as a raw. Just this right here, a raw binary. Obviously it's like lossless, and PNG should be lossless as well, but raw is like traditionally how height maps are exported. So yeah, so we'll throw it right in here, this assets file or folder, and like, you know, landscape video final or something. Yep, 16-bit. just hit OK. Yeah, so at this point we'll go ahead and load our mod kit. And we'll create a new user-generated content, or a new mod. We'll just call it landscape video. And we'll grab this map template and just copy it in. Give it a new name. And then we'll open that. So what we'll want to do is to start creating landscape, we'll go to modes and we'll choose the landscape tool. And then we'll go over here to, we'll import from a file because we want to import that raw file. And we'll just click that. And then we'll go to our assets and we'll choose this final raw file and just hit open. And then to get 8 meters per pixel, which is again in the spirit of tribes, we just set it to an 800 by 800 by 100 scale. You can adjust the Z scale later depending on like the height that you want if it's too intense, but I'll just leave it like that. The other settings is, yeah, it automatically detected that we were at 766 by 766, and you can see how that matches up with this down here, which shows that it's pretty much a natively supported resolution if it matches here, because this right here is calculated from these 255 by 255 quads, 1 by 1 section, and a 3 by 3. So those are basically the settings you want to try to get if you want kind of like the spirit of tribes essentially type map. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and import that. And there we go. Kind of make ourselves move around a little bit faster. And of course, at this point, you can actually use these tools, these sculpting tools, and you can like adjust like the strength and the brush size, and you can actually do things like, you know, like add in you know, different areas of the terrain. So like if you wanted to sculpt different areas to make it better for skiing on, for example, then you could do it here. So you could just, for example, the common one is just sculpt, and then you can just hold left mouse button, see, and it raises that area, or you can hold shift and it sinks in that area. So you can kind of use a mix of like this, and then you can kind of move around with it and paint it. And also, you know, you can smooth out the terrain. See, you can flatten the terrain. And I don't really, those are pretty much, I just pretty much use a mixture of these three, and then I adjust the tool strength and brush size when I'm using them. And that's pretty much how I go in and like sculpt or retopologize these levels to make it more like skiing friendly, for example. But we won't actually do that here. So so now that we have this, obviously it'd be nice to find a way to texture it in a way, right? And to add some detail and some environment stuff as well to make it look better. So I'll show you some of my kind of, you know, secret weapons to generate like really cool stuff really fast from just a lot of research and time I've spent kind of like working with this terrain over the last year while I've been building this game. So yeah, so let's go take a look at the Epic Marketplace. You can see my library. I have a few things that I like highly recommend. I mean, one of them is this Magic Map Material and Maker, or M4. This thing is amazing. So we're going to use that. And the other thing that's really amazing is Ultra Dynamic Sky. So we're going to use that. And then in my desert level, and I recommend you find something if you're going to use foliage, I'm using the rural Australia foliage. So I won't show that like in this mod, but I will be showing it in this video of like how I used it in like my Desert Kingdom map. So so the first thing we want to do is if I'm going to show you how to kind of get stuff from the marketplace, you know, into your mod. So there's kind of a special process to do. So we'll start with the M4, the Magic Map Material Maker, and that's what's going to add like texture to our terrain. So what you would do is you'll just click once. If you, by the way, this is something that's paid, but whatever it costs, it's just 100% worth it. Like no doubt, it's really powerful. But so yeah, if you do, you'll have to buy it if you want it. And so I'll show you how to use it if you do that. I highly recommend it though. But yeah, just hit create project. To create the project, it's a little weird. I don't know. They have some errors in here, but you'll have to get rid of like this and this stuff in the front. Same thing with like this, I think. And then you want to select 4.26 since that's the engine we're in. And yeah, I already have something in this directory, so it's just telling me that it needs to be empty. So I'm not actually going to create it because I've already created it. But yeah, once you create it, it will download and it will install to that directory that you've selected. And so this is the type of where you actually it creates a project, and then there's another type like with Dynamics Guy where you add to project. So we'll cover both. It's slightly different. Yeah, so in this case, I've already created that project, and so we'll go load that up. And so here it is, this Magic Map Material Maker. And so I'll load up that project because that's what's going to install basically from the Epic launcher. And then we want to basically pull stuff in from this into our mod kit, and then from our mod kit into our mod itself. So when yours first loads, it'll take a while for it to like build all the shaders, but it'll eventually look like this. It might take about 5 minutes or so. And what we're going to do is we want to migrate basically just this Magic Map Material blueprint. That's like the main blueprint. I mean, you can go read their documentation, but you'll find out this is the main blueprint. In their documentation, they recommend just migrating this entire folder, but I found that that's not a good idea because it brings in some stuff that you may not need, like all these maps. And then I found also when I was moving it from the mod kit to the mod, there was like errors, and it just took forever. So it's a lot more efficient just to bring in what we need, which is just this blueprint and anything attached to it. So the way we're going to do it is we're just going to right click just the blueprint, and we're going to go to asset actions and migrate, and then this is everything attached to it. So it's going to bring a bunch of stuff that just the blueprint needs. And so we're going to hit OK. And what we're going to do is we have to go to our actual mod kits content folder, not the mod, just this right here, and then content. It's really critical. So we don't want to use the mod. We want to use the mod kits content folder. It's very important, or else there will be like things, it just won't work. Like, and I'll show you why, like the references won't work. Yeah, so just hit select folder, and it takes a little bit, but not too long actually. there you go. So not too bad. And so if we just go back to our, so we'll just do save all here. If we go back to our mod kit, we'll see it actually created this M4 folder in our mod kit's content folder. And if we go to like blueprints, we can right click this blueprint here, and we can just go to reference viewer, and we can see that everything is, you know, there's thumbnails for everything, and we can see that it's pointing to /game/M4. And so that's the thing, is if we had directly migrated it to like our landscape video content folder, everything, all the references would be broken, because you'll see why. Like once we actually move it here, you'll see how these references on this blueprint here, if we go to the reference viewer, how these will actually change. Instead of pointing to this game, it's expecting game to be this the root content folder. It just, you'll see how it'll change. It'll actually, these need to be pointing into the mod kit, into the mod itself, so that when you build the mod, it builds all of this stuff in with it, because it won't build stuff in that's out here. So yeah, so the idea is, if you're going to ever import anything into your mod, you first have to import it into the the mod kit's content folder, and then what you do to get the references to properly update, you just drag it over and you just hit move. And so this takes just a little bit of time, but not too bad. Again, if we had not just brought over the blueprint and everything attached to it, this would probably take a lot longer, and actually there would have been a lot of errors and stuff, because for some reason, like bringing maps over that are linked to this like cause errors. But yeah, this, as you can see, it goes just perfectly fine. And there you go. So it just moved it right out of here, and it moved it right in here. And so if we go now, this M4 is actually part of this. So we'll just do save all just in case. And if we go back into that M4 and we look at blueprints and we look at this blueprint again, well, look what happened. This is the great part about that, is that, see, it's no longer /game, it's /landscape video M4. And that's critical, so that this blueprint is not pointing out to this folder. It's actually pointing, you know, into itself inside of here, and that's critical. And you'll have to do that, like anytime you're bringing anything in from the Epic, you know, or anywhere, you should always bring it into here first and then move it to here. And then you can always check, you can always right click and check the reference viewer to make sure everything is referencing to inside of the mod itself. Right. So now what we're going to do is we'll go to blueprints, and we'll just drop this blueprint in the map, and we'll just set it to be at like 0, 0, 0. This is the magic map material blueprint. And then what we'll do is, you can read obviously the documentation on this, but I'm gonna just show you basically how to do it. So you just hit prepare new landscape, and this is good. You want it to turn red like that. And then yeah, it tells you kind of what to do here. So what we'll do is we have to go back to landscape, and then we have to go to this paint tab up here, and then we have to click this plus button and then do a weight blended layer, and then it'll automatically create like a new folder in our landscape content folder, landscape video content folder. And yeah, you just hit OK, and then just make sure to do save all. And so yeah, now that's really good that it's green. And then finally, we want to go back out to this select mode, and we want to select our blueprint again, and we're selected to island, and we're selected to cinematic quality, which I think I prefer, and just hit apply landscape preset, and boom, there you go. So as you can see, it's pretty amazing. Like, it creates this incredible landscape. It even has grass, auto foliage grass that's like highly performant for you as well. Let's see. So yeah, that's obviously saves a lot of time. You don't have to paint this, and it has like cliffs and rock and grass and everything. It even has like sand and like beach and stuff. Really neat. So like, just to show you how powerful this is, you could just like change to tundra, hit apply, and boom, there you go. Now you have a snow level. Or you can change it to like a desert and just hit apply, and now you have desert. So we'll go back to the island for now. So next thing what I'll show you is you may want to grab like some different textures, right? Just so like not all your maps and not every map in this game looks the same, right? So to do that, and you know, like Megascans and Quixel has, you know, obviously a massive repository of, you know, landscape type textures, and so you'll see how easy this is. So what you can do is under this BP, you can scroll down here. There's a lot of settings in here, by the way, that you can check out from their docs or just scrolling through. But if you go into, you'll find this landscape materials to use. Just expand that out, expand out biome presets, and obviously we're using this island material right now, so you can expand that out. And then we're using the cinematic quality one, so this is the material instance that it's using for that. So you can hit this magnifying glass, and what you can do is you can just double click this, and it will open up this right here. And of course, there's a lot of settings here. You don't have to worry about all this, but what we're more interested in, since if we just wanted to change out the textures, so the first place is this flatland coloring section, and you can change out so the diffuse, which is like that's just like what people consider a texture to be. That's just like the colored version of a texture. You can change out, you know, the gravel diffuse, the gravel displacement. You can change out the grass diffuse and the gravel normal as well here, and the grass normal as well. So they're a little bit mixed up, but yeah, you can change those out right here. And so you can just literally you can bring a texture into your mod and just, you know, choose it, select it from here, and it should just auto update the textures of the landscape to whatever you chose. So that just covers gravel and grass. If you scroll down, you'll also find, so don't worry about these. This is like this is like the transition details. So I mean, you could change these, but I don't really recommend it. Mainly just you want to change the diffuse stuff up here. But the next section is going to be the Foothills coloring. So you'll have the foothill texture, normal, and displacement. The next section would be the cliff coloring. So you have the cliff texture, displacement, and normal. And finally, I think you have the beach coloring, which is like the sand, diffuse, displacement, and normal as well. And some kind of like you don't have to change this, but just those. Yeah. So if you just changed out, there's nothing else. If you just change those out, those few that I showed you, it would completely change like these textures. You know, you can pull them from anywhere and make them look completely different. So yeah, so that's pretty good for now. So let's, next thing we'll do is, you'll see like we don't have like the reason you're getting these really dark shadows is because we don't have like a skybox. We don't have like any atmosphere or like any real lighting in this level yet. So what we'll do is we're going to bring that in now, and what we're going to do there is we're going to use ultra dynamic sky. So let's see. Yeah, so this one's a little bit different. So we'll go to, you know, the Epic Marketplace, and this one's an add to project. So we'll take ultra dynamic sky, we'll add it to our project. In my case, I have to show all projects. Then I'm making sure that that this is my my Axial Drift mod kit. So we'll click that, and we have to select the version 4.26, and then we'll tell it to add to project. I've already downloaded it, so it's going to add it pretty quick to mine, just pulling it from the cache. And there you go. So yeah. So what happens there is up here in our mod kit, of course, it added it to the core mod kit content folder. And so what we want to do is, again, like there's going to be errors if you bring these maps over, and we don't really want any maps. Obviously, we just really care about the functionality part of it. So the first thing we're going to do is delete this maps folder. delete. And then what we'll do is it's here, so we want to move it into our mod, because our mod needs to compile it and use it, so it needs to just point into itself. So yeah, we'll just hit move here, and then hopefully it'll move without any issues. There we go. So this is okay. It just stayed here. There's really nothing in it, and we can go and I can show you how to delete that. I guess we'll just delete it now. But yeah, everything already did move over here successfully. So we'll just actually save all. And then to get rid of this folder here, we'll just close down our mod kit. Minimize this. We'll close this down. We don't need that anymore. And we'll just go to our mod kit under projects, Axial Drift, and we'll go to our content folder, and we'll just manually delete this Ultra Dynamics guy. So, and then we'll just reload our mod kit again. And we don't need this anymore either, or this. Yep. So we'll load this landscape video up. Landscape video map. So yep, everything's still preserved. I do have a directional light in here, so we'll actually just destroy that. And so yeah, there's just no light in the level now. And the reason I killed that is because we're about to bring in like a full atmospheric lighting system, so I don't want to have like the light like doubling up. I think I actually forgot to do that when I was testing earlier, so but you'll see what I mean. But yeah, we'll fix it now. So I'll just hit cancel, save it, and then what we're going to do is for Ultra Dynamic Sky, we're going to drop in Ultra Dynamic Sky here, just this blueprint. And boom, there we go. Oops. And we'll just set it to 0, 0, 0. And then we'll drop in Ultra Dynamic Weather as well and set that to 0, 0, 0. And you know, we can click Ultra Dynamic Weather and just set it to like partly cloudy for now. And so as you can see, we get like a full sky and weather system with like proper lighting and atmospheric elements as well. And of course it handles like, there's a lot you know, with Ultra Dynamic Sky and Ultra Dynamic Weather, there's a lot of settings that you can go through and you know, read about. You can change like time of day, obviously. I think that's on Ultra Dynamic Sky. You know, cloud speed, cloud direction. Just trying to see like where time of day is. Yeah, it's like right here. So you get like really a full atmospheric system. It has like, you know, sunset and yeah, it's pretty amazing. You know, I think it even does like nighttime pretty well, and stars and everything. So really neat. But we'll set that back to default. So what I'll do just for fun, I'll show you kind of how powerful this is. So this is what it looks like now, but watch how quickly we can change the level into like something completely different. We could just make weather intensity like a 6. Make the cloud coverage like a 6. We'll actually add like a mix of like rain and snow. And then we'll grab our landscape. I'm sorry, we'll grab our this magic map BT, and we'll just make it the tundra and hit apply, and there we go. Now we have like a full snow level, you know, with like yeah, it's pretty fast, and as you can see, it's just completely different feel. Very powerful. Looks beautiful. Very little effort. As you can see, it's pretty amazing how powerful this is. I've seen a lot of auto materials, and this is like by far, I think, the best one. Well, maybe not by far, but it's there's some other good ones like Maui that I've used, MAWI. But yeah, as you can see, this is just really nice, really awesome. So yeah, we'll save it. And so I'll kind of show you procedural foliage now, but I'm not going to actually add it into this map. I'm just going to kind of show you some of the concepts of procedural foliage. So we'll load up the actual like axial drift project, because I have foliage implemented there. So while that's loading, the foliage I'm using, and there's a lot of different foliages on the Epic Marketplace, but I found like a really, really nice one that's PBR. It's called Rural Australia. I think it's even free. I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's still free, but as you can see, it's pretty incredible. Like, it's just got really like basically photorealistic foliage. That's what PBR is, physical based rendering foliage. As you can see, like some of these scenes, they literally look like real. That's why I'm using it in my desert level. So the way this would work is, it's an add to project, right? Similar to UDS. So of course you would just, same thing, you would add it to your project. You'd add it to your ModKit project. It comes with demo levels. So again, you would just delete the maps, delete the levels. And then of course you just move it into your, into your landscape, landscape video folder. So into your mod folder, just like we've been doing. And then from there you'd be able to access it and use it inside of your mod properly. Yeah, let's open up my Desert Kingdom level. It just takes too long for me to like set up all the foliage, so I'll just show you the basic concepts, and then you can there's a really good Epic tutorial on procedural foliage as well. Let me see if I can find it. And I actually have read it like front to back many times. Yeah, it's this procedural foliage tool quick start. It's a fairly large document, but it covers pretty much everything you need to know about it. And I'll cover some of the basics here. So yeah, you guys can read this if you want. And so basically, let's see. So the first thing you need to do if you want to work with procedural foliage is you have to go to edit, editor preferences, experimental, and you have to actually tick this on, procedural foliage. It's very important, or you won't get like options, and you won't be able to actually you won't have this foliage contextual menu category, and you won't be able to create all of this stuff here. So yeah, so that's the first thing. And then, so the other concept, so that the Rural Australia foliage actually came with some of the stuff we need to create procedural foliage. So one of the things you need these static mesh foliages, and so these point to your static meshes, and I'll show you what those are. And like, there's a bunch of options on those that you need to set for each static mesh you want to use. And then these procedural foliage spawners are like the things you put into your level that actually call these and start placing these. So it's a little bit confusing, but I'll show you them now, like how it works. So like in this level, for example, we also have these foliage blocking volumes that I use, like here. These are just blocking volumes. You can get to them from here. I think if you just type in like blocking. So you have procedural foliage blocking volumes, and basically it's just little areas you can define where you don't want any foliage to spawn. So I didn't want like trees and stuff like growing like right near the base, so I added those. But we're not going to really be checking those out too much. But like if I go to like, you know, like trees, and I click that, if I go to browse to assets, you can see rural Australia actually came with its own procedural foliage spawners. And so if I click this, these, as you can see, it points to not the actual static mesh. It actually points to these static mesh foliage files. So you can see those here. Like this was the spawner, and this was the static mesh foliage. And so this right here is that came with rural Australia. The procedural foliage spawner is actually what I dragged into my level. And from there, I was able to adjust the size, and it basically encompasses the entire level. And I did that for, I think, you know, for grass and trees, logs. I think that's like bushes as well, logs, rocks, and the trees themselves. And I'm just using the small trees because of the desert aspect. And so, yeah, let's take a look at this. So if we open up the procedural foliage spawner, I'll actually open this as well. So it's pointing to two static mesh foliages, which is like, this is just one of them that it's pointing to. And so the static mesh foliage file type, that actually points to the static mesh. You can set like a Z offset, like how much it like digs into the ground. Some of them are set to like -8. On both. So you can set it that if it's aligned to normal or not. So if it's not aligned to normal, it'll just always stick straight up no matter what surface it's on, rather than like, you know, sticking out of the surface in a normal direction. It randomizes the yaw every time it spawns one of these, like it twists it in a random way. It only grows on from flat to 30 degrees. If it's too steep, like the trees won't grow, because we don't want trees growing on like cliffs necessarily. So at least I have it set to that. There's also the density of how much spawns is controlled here under procedural. It's controlled by these. It's hard to explain. Like I'm not too good with these, but like you just have to kind of play with them and see. But by adjusting these values here and here, it really controls how dense the spawning is. And you know, but you can see like average spread distance is like 2,500 centimeters, spread variance up to plus or minus 1,500, and then of course this like seed density. This is important. This is like the scale, like, so it ranges the scale from like 0.6 to 1.0. Some other stuff is, yeah, the cull distance is very important. Like where does it start to like, you know, for performance reasons, like where does it start to make them not visible in the distance? You know, whether they cast a shadow, should you be able to like, what's their collision settings? Like, should you be able to run into them or not? You know, you can go here and just say no collision, for example, or you can be very specific about what it collides with here if you make it custom. So yeah, very powerful. It controls a lot. You can see these settings control like how this foliage acts a lot. It's using HISMs or instant static mesh. So they're highly performant, basically is what that means. They're like, it's hard to explain, but it's like the graphics card is reusing a lot of the data when it's drawing these. So you can have a lot of them on the screen, but still get a lot of great performance. Yeah, and so what happens is you define all this, and you have to literally define it for like each foliage type. So it's a bit tedious. That's why I didn't want to like go through it and do it in the video, but I wanted to at least show you how it was done. And yeah, and so once you've done this, then you can drop these into the actual foliage instance spawner, or the procedural foliage spawner. And then once you have that, you can drop that into your level. You actually do, and then you can size it here under brush settings. You can make it cover like the entire level that you want to say, hey, I want to spawn foliage across everything. And then you actually have to turn this off at first, hollow. It can't be hollow, so you make this off. You uncheck that. And then finally you have to hit resimulate, and that will actually populate like this foliage. Like you see here, it'll actually make it'll actually like drop it down. And then you have to do that, for all the different types. So like, if I were to go to like logs, you can see here's the spawner. So like it's pointing to all these static mesh files here. So you can see each one gets all the definition, you can see like there's differences, like this spawns from 1 to 1.5. So it's quite the process. Also, these are like more dense, right? There's less distance between them. So yeah, and then when you're done, after you've spawned, what you have to do is, and I haven't really figured out a better way to do this, is I make them hollow. After you resimulate, it's done, it's placed everything, you can just make it hollow again. And then what happens then is, like, I found that for some reason, like the shells from the guns like interact with this if it's not hollow. So I haven't been able to figure out why, even though I've set the collisions. It basically collides with nothing, it's custom, I guess, world type, but I've ignored everything here. So I don't know, maybe it was this, but this is just query only. So anyways, yeah, it's best once you do resimulate and it looks nice, you can just set this back to hollow, so there's no issues with the bullets. Yeah, and so what I want to do is, this takes a while to build. So when you actually package UGC and build it, you'll see you can watch the output log, and it ends up building like it has to compile like all the shaders for this, so it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to build. So I already built one, and I'll just show you that. So I had it right here. This is from my testing earlier. It built this pack file, so you can see it's like a gigabyte. So just what we threw in there, like just this really nice landscape material and this really nice sky and stuff, it's just a whole gigabyte already. But for these types of levels, like, it probably won't get much more than that, because at this point you'd probably just have a couple bases and stuff, and a few other static meshes, and you're done. But still, like, it's just good to know that some of these mods, when you add a lot of that stuff, can get pretty big. Yeah, and so I'll just show you what it looks like. I've already added it in to my game here. Oh, and the other thing, by the way, is once you're done with this, you still need to go in and, like, for your bases and reposition your spawn points and your flag and everything. So I already did that in this level. So yeah, you want to, like, obviously, and you'll probably want to go in and, like, delete this platform and that kind of stuff. So so yeah, you would, like, lift these out, of course, and place your bases and everything. And you can add foliage as well if you wanted, just like I was showing you. So yeah, so let's take a look. Let's just make sure that, like, that mod, by, like, bringing everything in there, works actually in game. I just added it here. See, landscape video pack. It's that 1 gigabyte pack. We'll just go to practice, and there's landscape video, hit launch, and there we go. Actually, this one's a little bit brighter because I forgot to delete that directional light, but as you can see, it works perfect. Like, we got snow, and we have this, like, tundra level, and we can ski it. Everything works. We just get this, like, beautiful map with really not much effort. I think my computer's freaking out because it's got, like, the video memories I can see is getting kind of low right now because I have too many things open. But it actually works perfectly fine. I was testing it earlier. It's perfectly performant. No problem. So yeah, as you can see, works great. So go to exit. Yeah, I just have too many things open. These two, like, my I'm sure my GPU, yeah, my memory's at 81%. It was probably just with that game loaded, it was probably at 99%. Yeah, my GPU would have been full as well. I mean, that's already at 52%, and I don't even have these loaded. But yeah, so thank you very much, and I hope this helps you guys to create some really cool terrain for this game. See you guys later.